is the First Home Super Saver Scheme? I'm Nicole Brophy from Trilogy Funding. I've been a mortgage broker for 10 years now and I deal with a lot of first home buyers, so therefore I thought this would be a good topic to discuss today. A very common confusion when it comes to the First Home Super Saver Scheme is a lot of people seem to believe that you can access all of your super that you currently have towards your home loan deposit. You can't. This is only for those who have actually contributed additional amounts towards their superannuation. A common belief is that employer contributions are also going to go towards the deposit in which you can use towards your home loan. This is due to the name of the First Home Super Saver Scheme being a little bit misleading and media making it sound really simple, and therefore people have the belief that they've got all of this super sitting there that they can have access to. The Super Saver Scheme is a way to temporarily park up to $50,000 of voluntary super contributions by way of personally adding to your superannuation or by way of salary sacrifice. Keep in mind that I keep saying voluntary contributions. This means that the portion in which you can access are only the portions that you have actually contributed. We need to remember that any additional contributions towards your super from your employer, for example, is not able to be used. This is not access to your retirement super or your employment super contributions, and it is also not tax-free, with the First Home Super Saver Scheme portion being taxed at 15%, meaning if you did actually contribute $50,000 towards this, it will cost you about $7,500 to access it at the end. The First Home Super Saver Scheme applies to a general group, not just first home buyers in general. It applies to those who have never held any interest in a property, whether that be an owner-occupied property, an investment property, or even a vacant block of land. The Super Saver Scheme also excludes those who are looking to purchase their first property as an investment property or a vacant block of land, as this is not actually going to be used as owner-occupied purposes. If you were to buy a vacant block of land as a first home buyer and you're wanting to use the Super Saver Scheme, you will need to also have a build contract that is going to actually be used to build within that vacant block of land. If you have only ever had employer contributions towards your super, then the First Home Super Saver Scheme is not something that applies to you. It also only applies to those who have contributed towards their superannuation prior to signing a contract of sale. The contributions also need to stay within the limits. And those limits are, you cannot contribute any more than $15,000 per year, and the absolute maximum amount that you can contribute is $50,000 overall. If you are purchasing as a couple, each of you will be assessed as an individual. So therefore, if you were to purchase with your partner and you have both put in voluntary contributions of $50,000 each, you can actually access up to $100,000 combined, keeping in mind that there is that tax portion which will be taxed at the time that you do look to withdraw it. How does this work as a deposit? So when your super is actually released, it's released like real cash. So therefore you can go ahead and use that portion towards your entire deposit. Sometimes we do find that people won't always use just the Super Saver Scheme towards their deposit. They've usually got that separate account savings that they've also got there within their bank as well. Reason why I will come across a lot of first home buyers who also have their additional savings sitting there in their bank account is because with the $15,000 per year cap on the Super Saver Scheme, if you were looking to save a total deposit of $45,000 to $50,000, you will need to wait for at least 3.5 to 4 years before you can actually access that entire amount because of the $15,000 per year cap. The Super Saver Scheme has no impact on your borrowing capacity. Your borrowing capacity is still going to be assessed as per your income and any other liabilities that you do have. When it comes to the First Home Super Saver Scheme, one of the most common mistakes that I am coming across is people are still coming in thinking that they can use their entire amount that they've got sitting there in super. Keeping in mind, as I mentioned earlier on, we can only ever use those amounts in which you have actually personally contributed. This excludes any employer contributions. We also need to be cautious of making contributions a little bit too late. So if you've already started to search for a property and you haven't yet started making contributions towards your superannuation, you've left it too late, as this will deliver minimal benefit or no benefit at all. It's also very common to forget that there is actually tax applicable in this. So Again, keeping in mind that if we are accessing $50,000 out of your voluntary super contributions, when you do withdraw these funds, you will end up with net funds of $42,500 because you will have that $7,500 which has been used towards the tax. A smart strategy that I see a lot of first home buyers doing is not only are they using the first home super saver scheme, but they've also got additional amounts sitting there as their deposit in their current bank accounts or short-term deposits. This allows for more simplicity and quicker access to funds when needed. They're also building their deposit based on their borrowing capacity. So what I mean by this is they've kind of calculated it all backwards. So they've come in, they've had an idea in regards to what their borrowing capacity is. So therefore they've set their expectations with their purchase price. So then from there, they know between their borrowing capacity and the expectations that they have for their purchase price, they're then working out their savings that they need in between those two figures. If you think the whole process of the first home super saver scheme seems complicated, don't worry, you're not alone. The scheme is genuinely complex, with even accountants, advisors, and mortgage brokers constantly double checking the rules around this particular scheme. If you aren't currently using the super saver scheme, then that's okay. There are still many first home buyers who purchase properties successfully without ever having to use this particular scheme at all. Buying a first home has many moving parts, and the super saver scheme is just a very small part of that. The scheme isn't usually necessary as it doesn't actually determine whether you can buy. It usually just affects the tax savings that you have had with those savings along the way. Even if you did nothing with the super saver scheme, you wouldn't be falling behind. At best, it's a small efficiency gain, but not a necessity. If you want numbers based on your situation, that's what we cover in our finance strategy session. There is a link to the calendar below. If you want more content like this, feel free to subscribe.